When knotting something like a marla necklace or a string of pearls, I have a bit of a method that seems to work for me and I get really into the rhythm of it. So I've threaded all of my beads that I'm going to require onto my string I'm using. I've already knotted a few beads in place, but what I do, and this will differ between different people, but what seems to work well for me is I slide one bead along my cord and then I do an overhand knot, pulling all of the existing knotted beads through the loop. So I can hold the loop wide open with my fingers there. And then to actually get the knot in the right position, which is the bit which is usually the trickiest for most people, I'm using just a standard sewing needle. It doesn't have any flex to it really. It's nice and strong and it's got a nice fine point. So I'm putting my needle inside the knot and usually quite close to the bead where I want the knot to be. And I'm going to apply a bit of pressure towards the beads that I'm knotting, and also I'm pulling the thread away from me. So you can just get that really close by doing that. It's just really guiding the knot into place. Now I usually find that by sliding the needle out at that point and then pushing the knot closer with my thumb and finger works really well. I have found when teaching this in workshops sometimes people get a little bit of a gap, and with using two strings together you can just split the cords and just help ease that knot close to the bead if necessary. So I'll repeat that a couple of times. I tend to find I really get into the swing of it when I get going. So sliding my bead up, wrapping around my hand, pulling the beads through, and then needle inside the knot, push towards the beads and pull the cord away. So there's sort of two actions happening there, and then just tighten that, usually with my fingers. If you've got nails on your right hand, you can use your thumbnail to slide that close to the bead as well, and if necessary pull the two threads to get it closer. So slide another one up, round my hand, pull the beads through, needle in, push close and carry on. So slide a bead up, round my hand, beads through, get it a little close, needle in, slide and just push up with my nail. So I find with having all the beads pre-strung and I can just keep sliding along, I find that I get into a real routine with it and it makes my knots more consistent, and I actually find it really therapeutic when I get going. So there we go. And one other way you can do it, because obviously everything you're doing is quite intensive on your hands, so it's can be quite fiddly, particularly if you don't have the same mobility in your fingers. So I've had quite a few people with arthritis come on to a knotting course, and there's lots of things you can do to help. So using the needle is good for guidance. If the fact that it's quite small is tricky, you can use a longer needle or a piece of wire, something that will just help you. So I've got my bead in place there. There is a really useful tool called a bead knotter as well. So I can show you how to do this. I usually demonstrate this in workshops because it really is quite clever. And again, once you get into the swing of things, it gets really close knots. So I've already slid my bead along the cord there. I'm doing exactly the same as I did before, pulling my beads through, and I've left a knot there. So the prong on the tool is going to replace the act of my needle that I was using before, and then this little V-shaped bit at the front here is going to help position the knot. So I'm going to get my knot close to my beads. The prong is going inside the knot as did my needle earlier, so that goes inside, and I'm going to pick this up so you can see how it's positioned. So the knot is on the prong there, the rest of the cord is resting on the V shape there, and I'm going to be pulling the thread towards me, so you can see there it's made the knot go very close up to the bead there. The thread is still resting inside that V, and what happens is, I'll get the right angle so you can see this well, as you push this bar up, this is going to bring the V close to the point here, so the point stays static and it's the V part that's moving. So as you slide up, you can see that that's bringing the knot really close to that gap there, so it's tightening it, and you then just slide off. So you're now left with just the V in that position, and that's got it just as close as the previous knots. So I'll demonstrate that again. So slide the bead up, tie your basic knot, and then the prong goes inside the knot. The V-shape bit is at the front there, and that's sliding along. If I zoom in, hopefully that will help as well. So cord is over the V there, and I'm pushing that up to that bead there, and then as I slide off, that makes the knot, the prong comes out of the knot, and I can just brace the knot against the V there, and that's it. So if you don't have that fine motor skills and the dexterity in your fingers for whatever reason, that's where this is really handy. Just that motion of pushing the knot really close and then bracing it against that V shape will help you get really tight knots.